Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Julie DiMatteo from thepaperpixie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US. And in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this awesome Impossible popper. It's a double-ended Impossible box. You just slide up the one end and that's how it opens to fill with treats or gifts. Now we've got both ends, so that's why I've called it a popper. How cool is this box? And it really is easy to make. So I hope by the end of this video, you just can't wait to try it because it's super fun and the recipient will absolutely be wowed with how this box opens. So let me show you how easy this is to make. We're going to start with a piece of Night of Navy cardstock that measures 6.5 inches by 9.5 inches. Along the 6.5 inch side, we're going to score this at 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 6. I'm going to rotate it to the 9.5 inch side, and I'm actually going to flip the cardstock for the first two score lines. We're going to score this at 1 and 1 3/4. And I'm going to flip it back. It's just the way we're going to fold the paper here. So 1, 1 3/4, 2.5, 7. I'm going to flip it one more time to do the last two score lines. 7 3/4 and 8.5. So let me repeat that. 1, 1 3/4, 2.5, 7, 7 3/4, 8.5. These two outside lines are on the back side of the cardstock. Now the next thing I'm going to do is fold. So we've got valley folds on these vertical score lines, and these two here are mountain folds or mountain score lines. I'm going to fold backwards on the second score line, okay? And then I'm going to come in and burnish that. I'm going to do the same thing to the opposite side, folding backwards on that second score line. Now you want to make sure that you have this first 1.5 inch score line coming in from the left. So this is our side tab. You want to make sure that that's always to the right for this part. I'm going to push that. See, it's folded backwards, pushing that up to the top of the Simply Scored. And I'm going to make little tick marks at 3/4, 2 1/4, 3 3/4, and 5 1/4. Let me show you that closer to the camera. See those little tick marks? Then I'm going to flip my paper. Again, we want to make sure this 1.5 inch side is on the left. Your little 1/2 inch section is on the right. Same thing, tick marks at 3/4, 2 1/4, 3 3/4, and 5 1/4. Just like that. Okay? All right, now with our paper snips, now I've got that little 1/2 inch section at the bottom. This cardstock is still folded backwards. I'm going to cut up each of these vertical score lines, stopping at that first horizontal score line. Okay, so we've kind of created those little slits there. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just notch in that little piece. So we remove that corner. Very similar to making a box, only the difference is this is folded under. Now where we did those little tick marks, we're going to cut on a 45-degree angle from the tick mark down to the score line. For the best chance at a straight line, cut from the tick mark to the score line all in one cut, like so. So we're going to continue to do that all the way down. So starting from the tick mark down to the score line. Tick mark to the score line. And then tick mark to the score line. Okay, so we've got something that looks strange like this. Now when I open this, look at how cool that is. Such an easy way to make these Impossible boxes. Now, we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. I like to have a little 1/2 inch tab here on the left. We're going to cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at that horizontal. Then I'll come in and just notch this little corner out. Now we're going to cut from the tick mark on the diagonal to the score line. And just work our way down. Like so. Now when I open this up, let me show you what the template looks like. There is our Impossible box. Look at that. Okay, super easy. By folding the cardstock before cutting, you get those little triangle shapes that normally you would have done with an X-Acto knife, and this is just really easy to do. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and burnish here. So we're going to fold backwards again on that top score line. Just pay attention to the direction of your score lines. Now this third score line in actually folds the other way. Okay, I think you can kind of see that. Now, before we fold and burnish on these longer score lines, I'm going to fold backwards on that first score line, like that, and then we're going to fold and burnish. Now, by doing that while the cardstock's folded, that's going to ensure that this is going to fit over our box. I'm going to come in and do that, and then you just kind of have to work the paper a little bit and then burnish. Then we're just going to work our way down. And then this final score line, you can actually just fold on that tab here and burnish, but then on these ones, you want to make sure you're folding over that cardstock. So this is still folded. Little tabs, we're going to fold over it while we burnish it. Now the last thing you can do on these little tabs is we can come in and just slightly notch the opposite side. When we cut while the cardstock was folded, we only notched in the one side of the tab. Like that. Now, let's go ahead and adhere our designer series paper. I'm going to be using the brightly gleaming specialty designer series paper. I love that with the copper foil. I've got 8 pieces here that measure 7/8 of an inch by 1 3/8 of an inch. Those are all going to glue along these 8 sections. Now pay attention here. We've got this folded backwards. This is the lid of the box. We want to make sure we're adhering our designer series paper to the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, next I've got 4 pieces of the brightly gleaming designer series paper, and these measure 1 3/8 by 2 7/16. That's just 1/16 of an inch less than 2.5. To determine where these should be glued down, I'm going to fold back on the second score line, and then this panel of designer series paper is going to go right here, and I'm going to do that all the way down. All right, now it's time to put our box together. I'm going to grab a strip of tear and tape, and we're going to run that right along this little side tab here, going up to the score line instead of the edge of the cardstock. Let me remove the backing. All right, now with this folded on that first score line, I'm going to flip this over. I'm folding on the second score line from the left and the first score line from the right. Just kind of work your paper a little bit, and that should line up right where we want it to. Like so. Now, this next part, I like to kind of dry fit the lids here. It's going to be kind of crazy to watch them go into place. Just kind of closing it like so. Because of the way we folded it and put this box together, these lids are ready to go, but it's just so cool how they fit together like that. It's just to make sure that everything's going to fit okay, and that looks really good. All right, so here is what we're going to do. I'm going to start with one end at a time. I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue right there on the tab. I'm not going all the way up to the score line, okay? I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch of space from the glue to the score line. Then I'm going to gently tuck that under where I want it to go. Slide the lid into place, and then because this is liquid glue, we can kind of put things right where we want it to go. Now you're going to have a little bit. This isn't going to line up exactly to the edge here, but it's going to be really close. Remember, we've got paper folded backwards. All right, and then you can just kind of break this in a little bit by opening and closing it, and it'll get a lot more comfortable to open and close, like so. Now let's do the other side here. Liquid glue is the key here because it gives you a little bit of time to get things right into place. Again, tuck that in, close our lid, and then just kind of hold it and shape it into place. All right, and then we can break this side in as well. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and put our treats in. I've got these caramel Lindor truffles. So I'll just open one end and put those in. You want to make sure whatever treat or gift you put in here isn't taller than this score line here so that you can easily close this lid. Now with the Lindor truffles, you're going to have to push the little wrappers out of the way. There we go. Now pay attention to where your seam is. So have this be the back of the box. And now let's decorate this a little bit. Now I did some of this decoration ahead of time. I used the Layering Ovals framelits. I stamped Merry Christmas from the Christmas Gleaming stamp set in Night of Navy onto Very Vanilla. Cut that out with the oval framelits. I believe this is the second smallest oval and scalloped oval. Thought we'd do a Christmas version of this box. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down to the lid. Now I'm going to put it just a little bit off to the right because we're going to actually tie some of the copper trim around this box. That looks good. Let's grab the copper trim. I'm going to tie a bow here. And I'm just going to grab a little mini glue dot to kind of stick underneath the knot of that bow to keep it in place. Actually, I'm going to fold this in half. I'll just make sure the ribbon stays put. And then I think I want to add one of these beautiful Star Designer elements. And there we have our impossible popper. This would be so awesome for so many different occasions, for table favors, party favors, a great way to give a little gift for the holidays. I love how these look. I love how they open and close, and they are really easy to make. So I hope you give this project a try. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next video. If you're interested in purchasing any of the Stampin' Up! Products I used today, they'll be linked in the description. And I'll also include a link to my detailed blog post with all project measurements, details, and a picture of the template. I'd love to have you come visit me at thepaperpixie.com where I post projects every weekday to inspire you. I have options to subscribe to both my monthly newsletter as well as my daily blog updates, and I'd love to welcome you as a new subscriber. You can shop with me anytime at thepaperpixie.com/shop. And if you're interested in a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, the starter kit is the ultimate bundle, and it's a great way to get your wish list for less. I'd love to have you join my team of Paper Pixies. You can purchase the starter kit at thepaperpixie.com/join. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you'd like a complimentary copy of one of our catalogs, you can submit a catalog request at thepaperpixie.com/catalogs, and I'd be happy to get one in the mail to you. If you give this project a try, I'd love to see what you made, so feel free to share it on social media with the hashtag #PaperPixie, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.